This video is inspired by an article, well, actually an opinion piece that I read a few days ago by David Brooks, a conservative columnist for the New York Times. It's the Six Principles of Stupidity, and this is, the title is kind of rooted in something I talked about in a couple videos a few weeks ago, namely Cipolla's The Basic Laws of Human Stupidity. If you'll remember, Cipolla was a Italian economist, and mixed in there somewhere is Dietrich Bonhoeffer. One of the videos covers Bonhoeffer. And the whole thing, at least to my knowledge, and my knowledge is incomplete, of course, but the whole thing's rooted in Kant's Critique of Pure Reason, where he basically defines stupidity. Now, Kant is not the only one who talks about stupidity, but not being that well versed in philosophy, Kant is the philosopher that I know of. And I'm going to start with the Kant and just kind of read it right quick. And I quote from Kant: "Besides, they often weaken the power of our understanding to apprehend rules or laws in their university, independently of particular circumstances of experience, and hence accustom us to employ them more as formula than as principles. Examples are thus the go-kart of the judgment, which he who is naturally deficient in that faculty cannot afford to dispense with. A dull or narrow-minded person to whom nothing is wanting but a proper degree of understanding may be improved by tuition, meaning college, even so far as to deserve the epithet of learned, degree. But as such, persons frequently labor under a deficiency in the faculty of judgment. It is not uncommon to find men extremely learned who in the application of their science betray a lamentable degree of this irredeemable want. So, essentially, that's how Kant defines stupidity. Stupidity is a lack of judgment, and you can remedy judgment, by learning, learning your craft or about something, or how to handle situations, that sort of thing. However, you can be learned and still lack the ability to be able to judge. You basically, there's only so far you can go with learning as far as enabling a person to have good judgment. So the other thing to note is that stupidity is not the same thing as ignorance. Ignorance can be remedied by, the quote tuition or learning about something. So we'll go next to the Basic Laws of Human Stupidity by Cipolla. He kind of breaks it down into 5 rules, and those rules are: Law number 1, always and inevitably, everyone underestimates the number of stupid individuals in circulation. Law number 2, the probability that a certain person be stupid is independent of any other characteristic of that person. Law number 3, a stupid person is a person who causes losses to another person or to a group of persons while himself deriving no gain or even possibly incurring losses. Basically vindictiveness. Number 4, non-stupid people always underestimate the damaging power of stupid individuals. I might get into that, I might not. In particular, non-stupid people constantly forget that at all times and places and under any circumstances, to deal and or associate with stupid people infallibly turns out to be a costly mistake. Might be something we learn over the next few years. Law number 5, a stupid person is the most dangerous type of person. A stupid person is more dangerous than a bandit. And when he says bandit, he pretty much means, I think, somewhere or another evil, or a person who's malevolent. A malevolent person at least has a good reason to be to be stupid. I guess it's arguable that if evil is actually the same thing as stupid. I would say it's not. So we will turn to the six principles of stupidity, and looks like my voice is giving out, so I'm going to go ahead and just do the AI reader here.
The 6 Principles of Stupidity. This article is by David Brooks and read by an automated voice. This was the week in which the Chinese made incredible gains in artificial intelligence, and the Americans made incredible gains in human stupidity. I'm sorry, but I look at the Trump administration's behavior over the last week, and the only word that accurately describes it is stupid. I am not saying the members of the Trump administration are not intelligent. We all know high IQ people who behave in a way that's as dumb as rocks. I don't believe that there are stupid people, just stupid behaviors. As the Italian historian Carlo Cipolla once put it, the probability that a certain person be stupid is independent of any other characteristic of that person. And I am certainly not saying Donald Trump's supporters are less intelligent than others. I've learned over the years that many upscale Democrats detest intellectual diversity. When they have power over a system, whether it's academia, the mainstream media, the nonprofits, or the civil service, they tend to impose a stifling orthodoxy that makes everybody within it duller, more conformist, and insular. If Republicans want to upend that, I say, go for it. I define stupidity as behaving in a way that ignores the question, what would happen next? If somebody comes up to you and says, I think I'm going to take a hike in a lightning storm with a copper antenna on my head, stupidity replies, that sounds like a really great idea. Stupidity is the tendency to take actions that hurt you and the people around you. The administration produced volleys of stupidity this week. It renewed threats to impose ruinous tariffs on Canada and Mexico that would drive up inflation in America. It attempted a broad and general purge of the federal workforce, apparently without asking how that purge would affect government operations. But I'd like to focus on one other episode, the attempt to freeze federal spending on assistance programs, and Trump's subsequent decision to reverse course and undo the freeze. When announcing the freeze, the administration stated its clear goal, to defund things like the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that Trump disapproves of. A prudent administration would have picked the programs it opposed and focused on cutting those through a well-established process known as rescission authority. But the Trump administration decided to impose a vague, half-baked freeze on what it claimed amounted to more than $3 trillion in federal spending. Suddenly, patients in cancer trials at the National Institutes of Health didn't know if they could continue their treatments. Head Start administrators didn't know if they could draw federal funds. Cities and states across America didn't know if they would have money for police forces, schools, nutrition programs, highway repair, and other basic services. This Trump policy was like trying to cure acne with decapitation. Nobody seems to have asked the question, if we freeze all grant spending, what will happen next? Once the ramifications of that stupidity became obvious, Trump reversed course. And this is my big prediction for this administration. It will churn out a steady stream of stupid policies, and when the consequences of those policies begin to hit Trump's approval rating, he will flip-flop, diminish or abandon those policies. He loves popularity more than any idea. But it is still true that we're going to have to learn a lot about stupidity over the next 4 years. I've distilled what I've learned so far into 6 main principles. Principle 1. Ideology produces disagreement, but stupidity produces befuddlement. This week, people in institutions across America spent a couple of days trying to figure out what the hell was going on. This is what happens when a government freezes roughly $3 trillion in spending with a 2-page memo that reads like it was written by an intern. When stupidity is in control, the literature professor Patrick Moreau argues, words become unscrewed from their relation to reality. Principle 2. Stupidity often inheres in organizations, not individuals. When you create an organization in which one man has all the power and everybody else has to flatter his preconceptions, then stupidity will surely result. As the German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer put it, this is virtually a sociological psychological law. The power of the one needs the stupidity of the other. Principle 3. People who behave stupidly are more dangerous than people who behave maliciously. Evil people at least have some accurate sense of their own self-interest, which might restrain them. Stupidity dares greatly. Stupidity already has all the answers. Principle 4. People who behave stupidly are unaware of the stupidity of their actions. You may have heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is that incompetent people don't have the skills to recognize their own incompetence. Let's introduce the Hegseth-Gabbard corollary. The Trump administration is attempting to remove civil servants who may or may not be progressive but who have tremendous knowledge in their field of expertise, and hire MAGA loyalists who often lack domain knowledge or expertise. The results may not be what the MAGA folks hoped for. Principle 5. Stupidity is nearly impossible to oppose. Bonhoeffer notes, against stupidity we are defenseless, because stupid actions do not make sense, they invariably come as a surprise. Reasonable arguments fall on deaf ears. Counter-evidence is brushed aside. Facts are deemed irrelevant. Bonhoeffer continues, in all this the stupid person, in contrast to the malicious one, is utterly self-satisfied, and being easily irritated becomes dangerous by going on the attack. Principle 6 is not intelligence, it's rationality.